Welcome back, everyone. So I had a problem with the last one, so let's give it another go. We're going to take a look at the monthly update, but I just like to cover the ships part. I know other people will cover more than that, but I like to really dive into what's going on with the ships. So let's get into it. I do have the last month. This is the June update. I do have May's up as well, just as we need to look back forward to kind of look at the difference between the changes that have occurred. So UK, they're working on the Anvil Paladin, and that is making its way through the gray box and should be done with it by the end of July. So just from a point of reference, there's the white box, gray box, and then final LODO phase where it's like final art before it's released. So this is well on its way. So it's possible we could, I'm thinking we'll see the Paladin by the end of the year. Do we have to wait till CitizenCon in October to get it? I think that's possible, but it's possible it could be ready before then. So I would say at least by October should be doable in my eyes, but it could be sooner. The Railin is actually going to be entering the pre-production as well. This pre-production is, there's two updates for that. There's the Kraken as well as the Railin. Spoiler alert, down to the Kraken here. But this means it needs to be kind of repurposed and rethought about because a lot of stuff has been standardized as far as like SCU boxes and things of that nature. Cargo's been standardized, so it needs to be rethought of and reimagined, if you will. I think it'll remain to be similar to its current idea, which is it'll probably have external storage, much like the current raft does, but I think the way they'll imagine it will be differently. Additionally, last month I did cover this, but they're working on a cockpit entry requirement for a special ship. This is related to unannounced ships. I know I kind of mentioned this as possibly the Railin, but I think it could be a relative to the Railin instead, and this could be more or less an entry point for doing something like the Railin needs, which again, the Railin does need a way to enter the ship that's a little bit different and unique. So I think the work that they're doing on that unannounced ship will potentially help here. Just a food for thought. I'm just kind of rethinking what I said last month, which is, they're working on the Railin. Well, it looks like obviously they do want to get to that point, so it's possibly maybe another Getak was being worked on. And so we have the Sulin and the Railin, one of those being a concept, the Sulin already being out. There's possibly a third Getak coming along with under the unannounced ships with that special entry, or it could be totally unrelated. But either way, they are working on the Railin, and we should... it looks like it'll enter production later this year, so we won't see it this year. I think it's possible we may see it next Alien Week, which would be interesting. So about a year from now, it seems reasonable to me, but we'll have to see. It could be CitizenCon next year, so it'll be 2026. The question is, will it be mid 2026? Essentially Alien Week next year, or will it be later? Ironclad, not looking good, gents, boys and girls. It is not listed as still as any particular phase. It's just that they're working on the overall kit that they want to be using. I do have some additional thoughts with the Kraken update that I want to discuss, but I don't know if this comes out by the end of the year. If you asked me earlier this year, I would say, I think they get out before the end of the year. But that's looking less likely than possible. It's interesting. People were saying, maybe it'll be out by Fleet Week. Well, now it's looking like it might be out by next Fleet Week, which essentially is going to be 2 whole years from when it was announced. It was announced last Fleet Week, so it would be 2 years from its announcement, which seems plausible that could be it. It could be done before then, but let's get on to it. There's no major updates here. They're working on 4 other unannounced ships. Be mindful that stuff like the Prowler was an unannounced ship up until this update. So 2 are working through white box phase into gray box phase, which is good, but they're kind of early days. Focus on details around the hull. Another, its final stages for production is receiving finishing touch-ups and bugs fixes. I think that's going to be probably the Meteor. Another vehicle from a prominent manufacturer enter production. This is another one. There's kind of 2 here, a new variant also entering pre-production. So there's a couple ships here, and they've already kind of alluded to a couple of them, which is they're working on an RSI salvaging ship that'll be similar to the Golem, or similar in scale to the Golem, an entry-level point for the salvager, or the salvager in the verse. I think that is probably one of these. The other one is the Kruger. They are supposedly working on a Kruger fighter. I don't think it's meant to be a snub, but I do think it'll be a full-on small fighter. That is, that another vehicle from a prominent manufacturer, I think more or less fits the Kruger part more so than possibly the RSI salvaging vehicle. But a couple of these unannounced ones, I think, are 2 of those. Another variant also entering pre-production, which team states may have the record for the fastest vehicle through the production pipeline. So... this is mentioned as a variant, so it's hard to say which they're referring to here. We also know they're working on the Meteor. So the Meteor is going to be possibly an EMP variant, but it is going to definitely be the brother or sister to the Mantis. It's just again, the EMP part is just based off of name leaks. So, you know, not expect it, but suspect that there could be a chance that that's going to be coming out soon, possibly with this patch, more than likely. This patch coming up will be 4.2.1, and I think that's where we'll see the new Meteor. North America teams working on the Apollos. So both of those two are like final phase here. So reached this phase, and so they're about ready to be done and dusted. So we could see these by CitizenCon, which would be pretty cool. It's interesting though, they're ensuring the modular medical base swap out behave as expected. I was not expecting that. I was expecting this update to kind of just be, hey, they're almost done. It's interesting to see the modularity is being worked on as well. So this will be the second ship with modularity that's actually being worked on and actually delivered. I think this is important though, because it is important for the Galaxy to see modularity as well. But the Retaliator is the only other ship that actually has modularity and has been put in, as far as I can recall. I'm sure someone will put in, oh, you forgot about X, Y, or Z ship, if I can't think of another modular ship that's been really delivered and has been worked on. But the Apollo here is looking like they're going to release the modules, which is exciting. They've never sold the modules, so I don't know if the ship will just come with, it might just come with size. So the way the modules are working for the Apollo, at least was previously discussed, is 3 size 3 medical beds, 2 size 2 medical beds, or 1 size 1 medical bed. And so just expect it to, they mentioned previously in the Apollo kind of Inside Star Citizen discussion with the Apollo was that it was just going to have the 3 size 3s on both sides. So I would expect that to only be the configuration it comes with. It would be great for those that purchased with it, ahead of time. You get all the modules, that would be ideal, but obviously they usually sell those modules, so we'll have to see. Once it releases, they may sell the modules later. Ideally though, again, if you're an early adopter for the Apollo, you just get all the modules. That would be great. The CIG going to do that. I'll keep my fingers crossed for everybody, but that's the best you're going to get as far as actual opportunity for that. The Prowler is still had been bug fixed, and it's already out now, but I think the Prowler is a bit of a miss. Not every ship's going to be a hit, but some people do like it. But I think there probably are not good enough sales to really possibly even justify the work that was put into it. But there'll probably be other Prowlers that come out as well. At any rate, it's still being worked a bit reworked with these bugs. I think there's other bugs available on it now, but again, I don't use it anymore. I don't think I even used it. I think I pulled it out like one time during the 1 week I had it for my subscription thing. Anyways, I haven't touched the thing. So the Perseus is approaching gray box gate review that would then lead into the final phase. So I think we'll see this by the end of the year. I think that's an easy win for them. They're touching up kind of some of the general animations, the torpedo launching, and things of that nature. So that's very exciting because we do know after the Perseus, they will be working on the Galaxy. I don't think that was mentioned in this update, the Galaxy stuff. No, the Galaxy stuff was only covered in and mentioned in the Bar Citizen that was covered originally in China, and then they brought that same update to Fleet Week this year. So again, after the Perseus is meant to move on for the RSI side to the Galaxy, which will be, the Perseus is more heavily using the Polaris type of toolkit. The Galaxy will be using more or less the Zeus styling. Lastly here, we're going to talk about the Drake Kraken, which I've talked a little bit about with the Ironclad, but it's in pre-production, with the Railin. It kind of relates to both of these. Both, again, the Kraken and the Railin were done and imagined well before some of the things were standardized. Modern standards, such as CCU boxes, were not standardized, things of that nature. So now those new standardizations will help with reimagining these, and so they can get better ideas about what needs to be concepted. For example, has been mentioned, I know John Crew, I think, had mentioned in the past that they want to have a medical bay in the Kraken, which makes a lot of sense. That just was never originally in there, so they have to figure out where they're going to put those in the concept and kind of get that all thought out and put together. It does look like they want to start full production later this year, so that is a bit good from the Ironclad perspective, I think. So for me, I wouldn't think they would want to start the Kraken until the Ironclad's done. I could be wrong. Let me know in the comments down below if you think that'll be the case. It's also possible they just do the Ironclad and the Kraken a bit together as they finish up the Ironclad. Obviously, the Ironclad will be done before the Kraken, but I'm hoping this inter-production, full production will begin after the Ironclad's done. But again, I think the idea of the Kraken or the Ironclad coming out by the end of the year is seemingly less likely the more I see these monthly updates. I'm looking for an actual gate or actual gray box, white box, or LODO phase. An actual phase to be mentioned would be much more much better of an update than just kind of saying, hey, we're continuing to work on it. Anyways, that's about all I got. Let me know what y'all think down below in the comments. Appreciate y'all checking out the video. Catch y'all next time. Peace.